KUSU time 740. Have you been paying attention to the Portland mayor's race and the polls? Good morning, Paul Lindman. Scott Lynn, the morning update for a Tuesday. Just a week until ballots are counted, but now here's two polls, one from K2 showing that Jefferson Smith, who was a distant third back in February, now has a 1 percentage point, he's trailing that by that much from Hales and Brady. And in the Oregonian KGW poll, he's trailing Charlie Hales by 1 percentage point. And Jefferson Smith joins us this morning. Jefferson, how did you make up so much ground in such a relative short amount of time?
Well, we've been campaigning really hard. There have been hundreds and hundreds of volunteers who've been helping. We've done 107 house parties around the city. We try to stay disciplined about how we're going to be careful with the people's money, not giving in to some tempting offers around some tax breaks or big projects we can't afford. But we're not taking too many polls too seriously. We didn't fixate on them several months ago. We're not fixating on them now. It's heartening to hear the response we're getting. We have been getting some really good feedback from people at the doorstep and et cetera. But we've got to stick to our knitting and just kind of focus on communicating with voters. Do
you believe, though, I agree with what you're saying about not depending too much on the polls, but do you agree, at least statistically, it looks like a tied race between the three of you right now?
Yeah, from everything we can tell, it's a really close race, and I think that's exactly accurate, and that's how we need to treat it regardless, right? We got 8 days, basically 7 days until Election Day, and the most important thing, not only for the race, but also for Portland, I mean, this should be a race people engage in. This should be a thing that people participate in. We should work to boost up turnout so that more Portlanders feel committed to the direction of the city, and if it's a close race, if we treat it like a close race, it's more likely that we'll all work to do that.
Another finding in the Oregonian survey is that you are leading among women voters. That has to be a disappointment for Hales and Brady.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that they have called into some question the validity of the poll, and I don't, I'll let it speak for itself and let them have the conversation they want to have. The conversation we want to have is how can we spend money smartly in the city? How can we reconnect the people of the city with the power of the city and make sure that what we're doing is seeing the whole city from, east side to west side, from Lentz Park to Forest Park.
We've talked before, Jefferson Smith, about what your campaign priorities are, but through all of these calls you've been making on voters and the events you've been a part of, what are voters telling you is the single most important issue in this race?
Interestingly, I don't think there is a single most important issue in the race. The thing we hear maybe more than anything else is schools and education, but people know at the same time that the mayor doesn't run that the mayor can help and the mayor might be able to hurt, but the mayor doesn't run it. Beyond that, I think it is people understanding the budget challenges that we're in. And some people respond to that by saying we need to grow the economy. Some people respond to that to say we need to cut some things. We need to find ways to do things more smartly. We need to find ways to better utilize the resources we have, variable pricing on parking like they do in San Francisco, finding ways to find revenue for schools. And our take is basically, any tool we have to help deal with our budgetary challenges, we need to consider. And whether or not, every voter puts it that way or thinks that is the most important thing, I think that's what the next mayor faces.
Our time is up. Jefferson, quick answer, if you would. How important is it that you do not have the endorsement of the papers in this city?
I think the most important thing is have the endorsements of the voters in this city. And so what we're going to do in the last 7 days is continue to mobilize hundreds of volunteers. We have more individual contributors than apparently any candidate in the history of Portland, Oregon, not running under public financing. We're tremendously heartened by the grassroots support we've had, and we'll continue to work on that. And most importantly, hopefully sort of keep eyes forward and focus on what we can do for the city together.
Jefferson Smith, thanks for talking to us.
All right, man.